Hello, and welcome. Today, we're going to be diving into that all too familiar feeling of being overbooked, overwhelmed, trying to figure out how to wear all the hats, right? And take care of yourself too, especially after breast cancer treatment has ended. So, if your calendar is bursting at the seams with doctor's appointments, trying to get back into work commitments, exercise, eating healthy, visiting with friends, being there for kids or grandkids, life, right? And you're having a hard time carving out time for yourself and rest and recovery within all of this, then this one's for you. Thank you for being here with me today. And I want you to know that you are in good hands. I'm Karin Del Maestro, your health coach, resilient routines expert, and I specialize in helping breast cancer survivors like you learn the art of building habits that withstand the craziness and the overwhelm of life, stress, fatigue, even chocolate cravings, right? So hang out with me today because we're going to be talking about finding balance. I'm going to be sharing 3 essential tips to help you prevent over scheduling yourself, right? Because let's be honest, right? Let's be real. I'm always honest, by the way, but let's be real here because so often we do this to ourselves, right? We do it to ourselves. So, like I said, I'm going to be sharing 3 tips today. Now, this episode kind of came about from a conversation that happened in one of our workshop calls inside Thrivership School, my group coaching program. And it was interesting because we were working on our S module. S is in Sam. And S stands for self-care is non-negotiable, right? And as you've probably realized, it's very difficult for self-care to become your non-negotiable. It's why it's at the end of our 6-month program. There are other things that need to go first. But my question to the group that was in this call was, what prevents you from making self-care a non-negotiable? In other words, like, what gets in your way? What stops you from taking care of yourself? And I was actually blown away by the response because it is very, very, very rare that within a group, every single person had the same response. And everybody said that it was their problem in being overbooked, over scheduling themselves, recognizing, and every one of them held up their hand and said, I do it to myself. I know I do it to myself. But every one of them said that that was one of their biggest struggles. So we're going to be talking about that today because I figured that if everybody in this group is having this issue, then there's a good chance that you might be too. Right. And so I'd love to solve this problem for you today. So we're going to be talking about how you can reclaim your time, right? Instead of giving everything away, like we need to claim some of it for you without feeling bad or guilty. That's the tough part, I know. We need to prioritize your well-being. Because if you want to get your energy back, if you want to stay healthy, then we need to make that a priority. And I know you might be saying, but Karin, how? How do I make that a priority? I love tangible tips. I really do. I am the coach that does not load you up with a ton of useless, I don't want to say useless information, but a ton of information. Because here's what I know. In this world of Google, in this world of Pinterest, in this world of social media and YouTube and everywhere, information is at our fingertips, right? Information's at our fingertips. And it can often lead us to analysis paralysis, where we are so bogged down and overwhelmed with what we need to be doing, right? And it just becomes a list, a big list. Instead, I'm the coach, helps you kind of clear through all of the things, focus on the things that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, and show you how to do them. Because it's in the how, right? Information plus implement equals transformation. That was something that a coach of mine told me years ago, and I will never, ever, ever forget it. Because you can have all the information in the world that you want, all the things that you want to be doing or feel that you should be doing, right? And you probably have that little voice in your head. We call her Negative Nancy in Thrivership School, who's beating you up because you're not doing the things that you know you ought to be doing. It's not about more information. It's not about more things. It's about a few of the right things. And I'm going to have a special guide for you that I'm going to be telling you about later on that's got these things in for you. So you don't even need to go looking. I've got it all right here. But then it's like, how do we actually do it so that we're able to stay well, so that we're not constantly living in the fear of recurrence? Because what I know is that fear hates, doesn't like it when we are taking action towards being healthy. The fear will start to melt and dissipate. Okay. So hang out with me because I've got these 3 tips for you today for the how, the implementation. So first of all, let's talk about letting go of what's not yours to worry about. That overwhelm, that feeling of being overscheduled, that feeling of your spinning mind and all of the list of I've got to, I need to, I want to, all of the list of the to-do list, the mental to-do list that's hanging out in your head, spinning around. We call them open loops. There's all of those things, but there's also all of the other things that you've taken on. Who else are you worrying about? What else are you worrying about? So first things first, just take a deep breath. Do it right now. Hit the pause button. I do this, right? Because I want to pause my brain from spinning. So I literally will do that and pause my brain. And I ask you to reflect on your schedule. Like pull out your calendar right now. Take a look at it, right? And then ask what's on that calendar or what's on this mental to-do list that isn't yours to worry about. Think about that. Because we cannot control what other people say, think, do, feel. We cannot control, unless you're a person in power, we cannot control what's going on in the world. I'm not saying don't be an advocate. I'm not saying don't have a cause. But when you're recovering from breast cancer, sometimes we need to take a step back from those bigger things until we've got the bandwidth and the energy. So first we have to focus on getting us to a good place. Then we can take on the cause. Then we can help others, whether it's breast cancer or something else in the world. I'm a person that loves to give back. That's why I serve the breast cancer community. And you might be too if you're listening to this. But for now, we're asking, what isn't mine to worry about? Perhaps you've got a family member that's going through a hard time or a friend. Is that yours? Can you affect the outcome? Can you control something there? Very often, we are carrying burdens that aren't ours to bear, adding unnecessary stress. So identifying what you can let go of. When I say let go, I really mean let go. Like for me, I envision this super heavy cape around my shoulders. And I imagine like unbuttoning it and really taking it off and letting it go. Feeling that weight disappear. It's not just about physical tasks, right? The mental and emotional load counts too. And when we free up this space up here, here, then it can lighten the load that you're carrying significantly. And suddenly the schedule doesn't feel so full. Suddenly it doesn't feel like we have to fix everything, even when it's not ours to fix. Even if you're the one that everybody's always come to fix everything and take care of everything. I get it. That's me too, right? So that's tip number one, is to let go of what is not yours to worry about. That means letting go of what you can't control, letting go of what you're taking on as yours when it's not yours to fix or take care of. Okay, so be mindful of that. The second thing I want to talk about today is making yourself a priority on your calendar. So grab your calendar now, right? Review it. I asked you to get it out before. You may or may not have done that, but I really invite you to do this as we're talking about this, right? Because very often what we do is we schedule all of our commitments on our calendar. Your doctor's appointments, meetings, could be dinner out with friends, vacation, work commitments, kid commitments, all of the commitments. But where are you on your calendar? Right? Because if your calendar, like I need my calendar. My calendar has everything on it. I find it a huge support. I know that if something's on my calendar, I'm going to do it. So it helps me be more successful, right? Building confidence, building trust in myself. It's how I'm productive. So every little thing that I need to do, even if it's a phone call, is on my calendar, because that is where my priorities are. So very often we've got priorities and commitments for everybody else. Where are you on your calendar? Your morning walk, your meditation, your lunch, time for an afternoon cup of tea. Are those things on your calendar? Think about it. So what I do personally is I reserve my mornings until 8 a.m. Right? My calendar is reserved prior to that time. I don't take clients before 8. I don't take meetings other than this one that's in the UK. Then I will take that earlier, but that's only every couple of months. But typically my mornings before 8 a.m. are dedicated to my movement, any kind of mindfulness, meditation. I do an intention setting practice every day for how I want to be that day. Do I want to be calm? Do I want to be happy? Do I want to be energized? How do I want to be and feel in my world, in my body every day? I set that intention every single day. It is my non-negotiable time to prepare for the day ahead. So if you are not putting time on your calendar for you, then you are not making yourself a priority yet. So how easy is that? It doesn't need to be every day. I have my lunch blocked out every day. I have my before 8 a.m. blocked out every day. I have my what I call transition time every day, which is when I'm transitioning from work, because I work at home, to kind of preparing dinner and things like that. I have time there for a cup of tea. I go and sit on the dock. We live on a canal, and I get to have my cup of tea, and I breathe, and I just transition. But all of these things that support me, my mental, emotional, and physical health and well-being, are on my calendar because they're a priority to me. Does yours need to look the same as mine? Absolutely not. But if you're not putting it on the calendar, then it is like having an appointment with yourself. And I really urge you to not think, oh gosh, one more thing on my calendar. Because this is one thing that gives back to you. It doesn't take from you. It gives back to you. So if everything on our calendar is something that requires energy, requires us giving, requires us doing, How about something that allows us to just be? Being on our calendar too. Maybe it's a bath, could be reading a book, could be any of a myriad of easy, short self-care things that you need to be on your calendar and make that appointment with yourself, right? And remember, if the thought pops in where you're feeling selfish or guilty, I invite you to think about this. If you give every ounce of everything that you have to everybody else, how can you possibly expect to have any energy for yourself, for your recovery, for your healing, for thriving and enjoying this life that you want, right? It's okay to reserve some of that for you. In fact, we need to give it to ourselves before we can give it to others. Okay, so think about that. Now, the third thing I want to talk about again today is also related to our calendar. Funnily enough, like all of these three are related to your calendar, right? And I invite you to consider adopting something that's called time blocking, right? To structure your days better. So you may or may not be familiar with the concept, but this technique I have found to really help me not only focus my energy, but help focus my brain, right? Because often after we've been through breast cancer, we're dealing with what's commonly known as brain fog or chemo brain, but it's not just that. The major side effect of going through breast cancer treatment of any kind is menopause. And as our estrogen levels drop, it can have an impact on how our brain functions. So it's not just chemo brain. It's really a side effect that most breast cancer survivors can feel challenged by. And so I have found that time blocking really, really helps with the focus of my brain, focus in how I'm directing my energy, and helps alleviate that feeling of being overwhelmed. Okay, so let's talk about this. To give you an example, I block out specific times for, I have my own business. So what you see is not everything that I do, right? There's a lot of administrative tasks that go on behind the scenes. I block out specific times for my admin tasks. If I'm making videos for my recording sessions, even like I said, transition periods, right, where I'm having my cup of tea before I'm starting my dinner prep. But so what this actually looks like for me in my week, and yours is going to look different, and it's meant to. I invite you to think about how this would ideally work for you. And every single one of us is going to be different, which I love, because it means that it gets to work for you. There is no one size fits all with all of this. So this is how I schedule my week. My Mondays and Wednesdays are my client days. Those are the days that I work with my one-on-one clients. They're also the days where I do my workshop calls for my group coaching Thrivership School. So everything falls into those Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays are often an admin day. That's where I do a lot of my writing, my blog posts, sometimes my emails, things like that. Thursdays, get this, a free day. Now, I know I am very blessed because I'm an entrepreneur and I have my own business. And that means that I maybe have more flexibility in my schedule than you do. But it doesn't mean that this won't work for you. Okay. So Thursdays for me, I don't put appointments. Does it mean that I don't often have a doctor's appointment? Or perhaps I will do be a guest on a podcast or a summit or do a speaking engagement. No, it doesn't mean any of that. It means that that's just my free day that I get to choose what I'm doing. Often it's my me day. It might be a day where I'm doing some reading on something or some studying on something. It could be a day where I'm taking myself and just going for a walk somewhere, exploring somewhere new. And Fridays, again, is another admin day. or I'm taking care of more of the marketing things in my business. All of these things, but you can see there's a structure. So yours might look like, right? Maybe there's a day where you make all of the phone calls that you've been putting off, right? And I know you just kind of went, all of them, Karen? Yeah, just get it done, because the relief that you'll feel when those things are done is amazing. Maybe there's a day of the week where you take care of the mail. Maybe there's a day of the week where you pay your bills. Maybe there's a day of the week where you do your meal planning for the following week. Maybe there's a day of the week that you have free, like me, where it's just like, whatever. But what I really invite you to see here is the relief that this provides, right? You get to remove the guesswork and that constant mental, right, that's in your mind. What should I do now? What should I do next? Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I can't handle this. What can I do? And then what happens is we often go into a freeze response. You know what? I'm just going to sit on the couch with my blanket and I'm going to watch Netflix again. That new season of Bridgerton looks really good. Now, there's nothing wrong with sitting on the couch under your blanket. There's something that I call cocooning, which is really important after going through treatment. Really important. Our rest is really important. But what I invite you to imagine is, how would that rest feel? Would it be more restful? Would it be more restorative if you had checked off, or you knew when you were taking care of certain things, so you just didn't need to worry about it anymore? It works for me. I invite you, and it works for a number of my clients too. So I invite you to try it on for size. If it doesn't work for you, here's the good news. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that this doesn't work for you. That's it. Trust me. As a coach, and I've been working closely with women for over 20 plus years, we often just have to pivot and shift until we find the thing, the system that works for us. But be open to trying it, because you don't know until you try it, to be honest. Yours does not need to look like me. Start with one day. Start with putting yourself on the calendar. That's the first thing that I think is probably the most important out of these three. Okay, so let me just do a recap here, right? We're going to number one, let go of things that are not yours to worry about. Number two, making yourself a priority on your calendar. If you're not on your calendar, you are not telling yourself that you're a priority, right? Because you're going to end up trying to squeeze yourself in where there's space. But when you're already exhausted and wiped out, that's not going to happen. It's not you. This is just a human living a human experience. And let's add on a breast cancer recovery to it. Makes it even more challenging. The third thing we've talked about today is mastering your schedule with time blocking, right? Getting those chunks of time. It could be an hour. That could be it, right? But just chunking out a block of time to take care of certain things so that you're not worrying about it anymore. And there's one more gentle reminder that I would like to share. Please don't forget that it's okay to say no, because setting boundaries is the most powerful act of self-care. If something doesn't align with your intention for the day, or if it feels like it's too much, or maybe you're being asked to do something, you can feel your heart rate just starting to race, and your inside voice, who we call Whisper Willa, is saying, no, I'm already too busy. My plate's already too full. But you've got that smile on your face and you're ready to just say, sure. Before that word comes out of your mouth, hit that pause button. Check in with yourself. Does it feel like it's too much? Does it fit with how you said you wanted to be today? What have you already got on? And I'm going to give you permission here and now for you to decline or reschedule with that person and that something. There is no law that says that you have to do everything from somebody, trust me, who used to do everything, who used to think that if I didn't do it all, that maybe there was something wrong with me, or that I wasn't good enough, or that I wouldn't make everybody happy if I didn't do it all. Newsflash. I tried it on for decades and it didn't work. And what I know is the more I have learned to say no, and trust me, growing up in the UK, I have found a myriad of ways to politely say no because I'm not mean, rude, or disrespectful. And so I'm not going to say no in those ways. That's not authentic to me and who I am. Okay? It's finding what feels good to you. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable to say no if you're not used to it, but it's so important. It's so important. My hope is that these tips today help you manage the overwhelm to help you create more of a balanced life. Always remember that you are the most important person in your life. And without your well-being, as you well know, everything else can really crumble quickly, right? So for more tips on building resilient routines and making time for self-care, I'm going to invite you. I have a free guide for you today called Thriving Beyond Treatment. Embrace these 6 easy habits for post-breast cancer wellness. It is specifically designed to help you integrate small but impactful habits into your daily life. So it's right up your alley, right? It's right what we've been talking about today. And I truly hope that you click wherever you're watching this video. There'll be a link around it for you to click and get this guide. Just pop in your information. Tell me which email to send it to. It'll come right over to your email inbox for you to download, for you to read, for you to soak up and see how easy this can actually be kind of when we get out of our own way, right? Just like my clients were saying, they are the ones that are responsible for overscheduling. They're the ones that are responsible for saying yes. They're the ones. And we are. And we simply need to start taking responsibility, owning up to it and saying, okay, do I want to keep feeling like this? I know for me, I didn't. I wanted a path that felt easier and calmer and less chaotic and less overwhelmed and stressed so that I could really stay healthy. And I would love to be able to support you to do the same thing. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining me here today. Stay strong, take good care of yourself, and know that you deserve it. I'm Karin Del Maestro. You can find me hanging out in the Healthy Living After Breast Cancer Facebook community. And nothing would make me happier than to see you in there and come and hang out in the most amazing Facebook community on the internet. Okay? Have a great, great, great day and start to think about putting yourself on the calendar. Okay? Bye for now. I'll see you next week.